probably the best season that I've had, as far as just the adventures and the memories made. We had lots of tags and we made good on a lot of them. Tons of memories, took lots of pictures, things I'll remember for the rest of my life. So it was probably the best season that I've had. It was amazing.
You are listening to the Run the Rack Outdoors podcast, where we take an all-in, leave no doubt approach to all things adventure hunting. From the big woods to the high country.
How about that?
Let's learn together as we discuss with our expert guests on what it takes to be successful in the backcountry. I'm your host, Weston Homa. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Run the Rack Outdoors podcast. This week, I got on my good friend Logan Wimme, and if you guys have been following this from the beginning, Logan was on episode 1. So Logan's the first recurring guest of the Run the Rack Outdoors podcast, so congrats to Logan there. I don't have a prize to give you or anything, but you are the first recurring guest, and the reason I want to get Logan back on is because Logan is just one of those regular blue-collar guys that just consistently gets it done. He's not, some of these big name influencers that gets to hunt for a living. No, Logan has a job just like everybody else, but gets animals on the ground year after year, some good elk, good deer, good bear. And he just had a heck of a year from spring bear and then went to Hawaii and hunted axis deer and mouflon sheep, and then came back, had an early mule deer tag. His wife had a moose tag that they spent a lot of time scouting on and then punched that tag. Chased some elk, went and then chased antelope in Wyoming, and then him and his buddy tagged out on some great bulls in Colorado. So just making it happen, getting it done, and it's just guys like Logan that just fire me up. So loved having him on. Logan's become a good buddy of mine. I used to hit him up all the time when I was thinking about moving out west and stuff, and because he's in Idaho as well, and that's how we started it. I was like, dude, I can't believe I'm finally here doing it. Talked about it so much. But yeah, man, Logan's such a great guy. So give him a follow. Go check out his stuff. He's just a killer. So that's the episode this week with Logan. Quick update. I'm just kind of wrapping up my hunting here. Not much else left here to do, but now we get into the dog days a little bit. So we got the winter months coming up, and Logan and I actually talked about this off the recording. Guys, this is when tags are punched. This is when I got these big ultra marathons that I do, and these marathons I'm running Boston in the spring, and I got a 100-miler on the docket on this summer and other races and stuff, and but this is where the magic happens. I was just out shooting my bow today. I got a little target set up behind my apartment here, just trying to find a good way to consistently keep shooting, but shooting the bow and just staying sharp, staying fit, try to actually really build back some strength, really get some endurance built back up. I did a 20-mile big just mountain trail run way up. This climb really kicked my butt, but just got to keep getting after it, getting these legs, just staying strong and keeping up that endurance. So did that on Saturday. That was on the same course where I'm running a 50K here in Idaho in January. So it was good to get some time on feet on that course. And I was looking, if I can keep up that pace and actually feel like I can run a little bit better when the course is marked, and just got that race day adrenaline, and I got 2 more months here of really getting in some good training, I think I can compete in this one. So we'll see how we do. But really, I'm just out there just pushing it for me and just trying to give my best and just be ready to rock and roll come next September. So yeah, this is where the magic happens though. So it's the winter, it's the dog days when everybody else is just sitting around. Let's just keep it sharp and just stay ready. So that's what I got going on. It's pretty much it. Same old stuff. Loving it here in Idaho, training hard and planning everything for next year. This week's also Thanksgiving, so just want to say, everybody, we have all spent so much time hunting the past couple months away from home, away from people, away from civilization. Let's really take some time to spend time with our families and show gratitude and just be grateful for just not just like the hunting and being able to physically do all these things in the mountains, just to be able to have a great day and live this life of chasing our passions and being able to do these things that we dream about doing. So make sure you just spend some time with the family, give thanks, and give thanks to God, and just enjoy the holiday here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy it. Let's all have a great week. Let's leave no doubt. Let's work as hard as we can, and let's run the rack. All right, everybody, enjoy this episode with Logan Wimme. Go Hunt has a single purpose: make it easier for hunters to get into the field. Hunting tags are only getting harder to obtain, and Go Hunt is a research platform helping navigate the ins and outs of drawing tags and researching hunts across the West. I've had a Go Hunt membership for years now, and I'm a big fan of the articles written on there by Brady and Trail. The content is next level stuff that has helped me a ton. From animal behavior to archery, they are sharing all the nuggets. I also love the hunt films on YouTube. They are extremely inspirational, and they'll make you want to get out in the mountains ASAP. Check out the Go Hunt Gear Shop, where they have everything you need for this coming hunting season. Use the code RACK, that's R-A-C-K, for 10% off eligible items in the shop. And you can use the code RACK for $50 in-shop credit when you join as an insider. So sign up for a membership and immediately get $50 back toward hunting gear. Check it out. You won't regret it.
Yeah, super cool to be the first returning guest. Yeah, we always find time to we can easily fill an hour talking about about the season. So yeah, super happy to be here and excited to get into it.
Yeah, I know. When we've talked on the phone, it's always been like the fastest hour. And then we talked a few times. Well, we talked throughout the season, and then we talked a couple times on the phone after. But I still feel like there's so much more we can get into. And it's just funny because if people haven't listened to the first episode, I originally met Logan, long story short, on a hunt in Colorado, and he had an elk tag, I had a deer tag, and we were camping next to each other. Logan and I just stayed in touch. I tagged out on a mule deer buck. Logan tagged out on a bull, and just really just kept in touch. If you're listening to this for the first time, maybe you see Logan, you press play. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and that's how I was doing these hunts for a long time. And Logan was one of like the few people throughout this year. So I just moved to Idaho because this is what I love to do: spend time in the mountains, chase these critters, all this stuff. So I moved to Idaho, and throughout the year I was talking to Logan all about it. Like, dude, I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna do it. And before we hit record, I was like, dude, can you believe it? Like, I'm here.
Yeah, dude, I was pushing you every time I was talking to you. I was like, dude, you should do it. I have some other friends that were living in the area that you were looking to go, and I was like, dude, I'll try to hook you up with some people down there if I can. And yeah, I was all about it. I was definitely on your side rooting for you, and so I'm super glad you pulled the trigger and made it happen. I don't think you're going to regret it. I mean, you've had a pretty awesome year already, just in the short amount of time you've been here. So I think things are falling into place for you, and I think it'll keep moving that way. So yeah, super stoked for you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I tried to forward think. Picked up that non-resident leftover tag this summer before I got out here, so that kept me busy. And so I haven't even gotten into like, the actual resident opportunities yet. And I still feel like I've been able to hunt a decent bit, which has been fun. But I can't wait. So like, I did think ahead. So 6 months is the residency, and I'll be fully resident by spring bear. So I'll be taking full advantage of everything.
Yeah, it's super cool, man. Like I've been here for coming up on 6 years, or maybe it's just over 6 years now. And so I'm a bit settled. Like I feel like I've been here for a while. I kind of know how things work, but it's also super refreshing to see you go through it fresh, because I was there too, right? And just all of these new experiences and opportunities you have, right at your feet there. It's such a cool feeling, and you just want to dive in head first, which I know you are. And I did the same thing, but like I said, for me, it's been a couple of years since that's happened, and it's just super cool to see you go through that. And I'm kind of like living it through you again vicariously, right? Like it's just super cool. So, yeah, sky's the limit. You have a lot of opportunity now. Super happy to see what you can do with it.
Yeah, and real quick before we go into your year, People didn't listen to episode 1 because I think we're on like 35, 36. So, dude, I'm getting there. I think like you make the top 2% of podcasts if you put out like your first 4. So
Yeah,
I'm already like,
yeah,
I'm
you're
already there.
you're cranking them out, man. It's awesome. Hmm.
Yeah, but people can go back and listen to that one if they want to. But if people haven't, do you want to give a quick little intro, like where you're from and all these things? Because yeah, you did a very similar journey.
Yeah, yeah. So born and raised in central Wisconsin. Um, did my undergrad schooling there in college, and then moved to North Idaho to do my grad school at the University of Idaho. And yeah, never left. Took a pretty good job here. Um, yeah, I had no reason to go home. I'm able to hunt elk and mule deer every year, and it's kept me here. So yeah, that's the kind of quick and dirty. I guess I grew up hunting whitetails and turkeys and whatnot in Wisconsin. A lot of waterfowl hunting too. Obviously, things changed when I moved out here. My focus kind of became mule deer and elk and everything else too. Spring bear. Also getting into some ducks and stuff too in the late season up here. So yeah, it's been great. One of the best decisions in my life for sure.
Awesome. All right, so that's Logan's intro there, and yeah, I just want to get into your year, man, because well, we can even back all the way up to spring bear, but just a quick once over. I mean, Logan went on a lot of good hunts this year from, I don't want to spoil it because we'll dive into each one, but, and let me know if I'm missing anything, but it was, bear hunting in the spring, looked like it went really well, chased axis deer in Hawaii, then came back, had an early mule deer tag, which looked pretty sweet. The old lady had a moose tag, which was awesome to see. And then went to Wyoming for antelope, Colorado for elk, and anything else I'm missing.
That's it. I chased elk with the bow in September here in Idaho as well.
That's right.
Yeah, I was a little bit limited on time there. Didn't punch a tag, but had a great time still. But yeah, that's pretty much been it. My season was over middle of October, which is not normal for me. So it's been interesting trying to fill the last month or so of my time. I'm usually still hunting right now, but I've been twiddling my thumbs and doing home projects and living through other people, I guess.
First world problems.
Yeah. I mean, it was just to caveat all that, like super blessed, right? Like this was
right,
probably the best season that I've had, as far as just the adventures and the memories made. We had lots of tags and we made good on a lot of them, but yeah, it was just such a meaningful year. I got to spend so much time with my wife hunting and also with my dad. Spent a good week with him in Wyoming, which that's super meaningful time for me. And then I also got to spend some time chasing elk with a really good buddy from back home. So tons of memories. Took lots of pictures, things I'll remember for the rest of my life. So like, yeah, as far as that goes, it was probably the best season that I've had. It was amazing.
That's awesome, dude. And that's the best when you can share it with people like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. All right, you want to dive right into it? We'll start in the spring.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I mean our spring season here in Idaho usually opens up mid-April. Usually the first weekend. I'm a normal guy. I work a 9 to 5. I'm spending a lot of time on my weekends hunting. Right, that's where a lot of my hunts come from. Is just weekend warrioring it. Right. I do.
That's a good caveat I meant to throw in there too. Logan also has a normal job, so that's what I get so pumped to have people like Logan on, because he's a regular guy, a regular job, and still gets out and gets it done on all this stuff. But go ahead, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, I do have some weeks of vacation every year that I typically spend in the fall, but in the spring at least, it's like everything I do is on the weekends for the most part. So the first weekend usually we're actually turkey hunting. Believe it or not. Spring bear does open, but in a lot of the places we hunt, there's still a lot of snow that first weekend, so it can make it tough to access and whatnot. And bears also aren't super active. We've done well on bears early too. They're just usually a bit lower down in the canyons. But so this year we did the same thing we normally do. We went out and did some turkey hunting, got a nice spring turkey, and then right after that we switched gears and focused on bears. And I had a good buddy. He doesn't live here anymore. He actually recently moved to California. But yeah, we went out with him. Oh, the first weekend we were chasing bears, and he shot a nice cinnamon, which was cool in some crazy country. We were only probably a mile off, or maybe 3/4 of a mile off the road, but it was gnarly stuff, like borderline dangerous. And it got kind of hairy because we shot that bear in there, and then we had to get him out in the dark. He shot it right before last light, so a bit scary. We got cliffed out a couple times coming out, but we made it, and so that was a super cool hunt to kind of kick off the bear season for us. And then
when you say first weekend, was that first weekend of season, or you just mean like your first weekend hunting?
My first weekend chasing bears, yeah. So the first weekend of the season, we went and did some turkey hunting, and then the fall weekend is when we started chasing bears, and it was good. That first weekend chasing bears, I think we probably saw, I don't know, 6 bears or so, which is pretty decent for a weekend, at least in the places that we hunt. But yeah, we got that nice cinnamon boar, and then I think it was 2 weeks later, we went back into a similar area, not the same spot, but pretty close, and I was able to take mine. Mine was also a cinnamon. Actually, it was a big sow. I thought for sure it was a boar. Everybody that saw the phone scope footage was like, "Man, that's a tank of a boar," and I was like, "Well, it's actually a sow." So
that video you sent me, right?
Yep, that same one.
That was so sweet too.
Yeah. Probably it's definitely the biggest sow that I've ever taken. Probably the biggest one I've ever seen, honestly. But again, she was in some gnarly country, borderline dangerous stuff, and I don't know. It's like every year we go into that stuff and hunt. I always tell myself when we're packing a bear out, it's like I'm never coming back in here again. Like this is too dangerous. Like what am I doing? And then there I am doing it again.
Yep. So when you say dangerous, like steep, thick, what do you mean?
Steep, rocky, cliffy. Most of those canyons, we hunt canyon country, so there's a lot of logging country up here too, and there's bears in all of it. But we tend to kind of gravitate toward the steep canyon stuff where you can glass a lot. And the bears just seem to be thick in there and that really steep stuff. I don't think a lot of people want to go in there, probably because it is kind of dangerous, right? But yeah, steep, rocky, cliffy, and then the bottoms are usually pretty thick with brush. So yeah, it's like sheep country in a lot of places.
Yeah, I flew out here in spring, just did a quick bear hunt for about 5 days, and I wasn't up north where you are. People are listening. Logan's a few hours north of me, but when the areas we were getting into, when you think thick, I mean just thick, like nasty, like just walking into like a wall of stuff. And some of that brush will get pretty high up in elevation. Like I was surprised too, like on some of these ridge tops where we were, like it was still like just unbelievable. But I mean, it seems like that's what they like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, they like that thick stuff. That's for sure.
So then, okay, so we're in the thick, steep country, and you tagged out on that bear. So then, this was at what point in the season? In May?
I think I took that bear. It was like May 10th, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess it was a couple weeks into the season. And that's, for us, that's typically when bears get hot, is like that first week of May, all the way till the end of May. Once you get toward the end of May, those boars start looking for sows and they're moving a lot, which can make it tricky. But yeah, I mean, like if I had to pick a week to go bear hunting, it would be that first week of May for sure. Because things are just, they're nice and green typically by then, but it's also not green everywhere. You don't want there to be too much feed because it really disperses them, right? So like that first week of May in the spots we hunt, like the bears are still pretty concentrated, and if they're on a patch of green, they're probably going to be there for a couple days. But yeah, I mean, the weather is great too. Usually things are starting to warm up. The mountains just coming alive. It's a great time to be out in the woods for sure.
Yeah, and that's when so I came out at the end of May, that Memorial Day
Hmm.
time frame, and that's what I felt like. I felt like, as a whitetail hunter from back east, like I felt like I was hunting a really good acorn crop, but
Hmm.
good as in like so abundant,
Hmm.
hard to pin down your target animal when you're focusing on food sources as one of your tactics. So it was just really greened up, and yeah, like you said, I felt like that definitely went through my mind when I was out there. I wonder a little bit earlier in the season, just time it right, just to help you,
Hmm.
um, like put those odds in your favor a little bit. It
Hmm.
was also hot as hell,
Yep.
and I don't know how much that affects bears really. I feel like there's some things that bears like don't care quite as much as like ungulates, but it was hot,
Hmm.
like got to be a factor. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, big black or brown animal sitting out in the sun, it usually doesn't mesh real well. And the other thing too, it's like it can make you uncomfortable because you're too hot, and then you might not hunt as effectively as you would if you were comfortable, right? So I
Right.
I tend to like the first part of the season before things get too warm. Um, Not like you said, there's still bears that are gonna move and come out later in the season as well. But I don't know. For me, if I had a preference, I would definitely hunt the first half of that season.
Awesome.
Hmm.
So big old Sal, that's what we got.
Big old sow, yeah, she was cool
Yeah.
too. Typically those spring bears, they're pretty lean usually, but this girl here she had a lot of good fat on her, so yeah, I was able to render some of that, and um, yeah, super cool. It was a great spring hunt for sure.
Did you find out how old she was?
Not yet. IDFG does pull a tooth though whenever you check a bear in, and they send that tooth off to that lab in Montana. I think it's Matson Lab. So
Right.
they will have that information in their database. It usually takes a little while. So I don't have the results from her yet, but I should at some point here.
Okay. Before we jump off spring bear, one other thing that I remember I was like just trying to learn as much as I could before I came out here in spring bear hunted. So when you're doing the spot and stalk mountain spring bear hunting like that, what's your take on were you glassing most of the day? Do you just try to like allocate your time towards the evenings? Like when did you actually see that bear and walk us through that and your
Yeah,
thoughts on kind of when to glass, how much your time doing it?
yeah, dude. Yeah, that particular hunt was like an all day endeavor. So I spotted that bear in the morning. I can't remember exactly what time. I don't know. Maybe it was like an hour after daylight or hour and a half after daylight. It was like a 4 mile hike to get into that glassing point, that vantage where we posted up. And I picked that bear out within like 5 minutes of being there. And then I quickly realized there was a much better access point that involved us driving or walking all the way back from where we just come, the 4 miles out, driving around and coming in from the bottom because we actually hiked in on the top, and she was almost in the bottom. So, and luckily there was a road that was pretty close to her in the bottom, so we drove all the way around and came in from down there. Um, to hike all the way back out and to drive all the way around before we started hiking back in. It probably took us, I don't know, a couple of hours. And then she was doing what most bears do in my experience in the spring is they come out to feed for a while, and then they go in and they bed for an hour, a couple hours, and then they come back out and feed for a couple hours, and then or maybe not a couple hours, but they'll feed for a little bit and then they'll just go back into the bed, and they just do that all day, in and out, in and out. Um, so when we started hiking back in on her, maybe it was at that point 11 o'clock or something. She was out feeding, and she was probably 800 yards away, and that's out of my comfort zone for shooting. I like to get to around 400 yards if I can. Um, so she was out and about feeding around. I knew she was still there, which is like, you know, that's the first thing. It's like, okay, like I'm leaving this bear for a couple hours. I want to make sure it's still there when I, try to relocate it, right? So like relocating it is always like the first hurdle. But, as soon as we started hiking in there, I picked her up again and I saw her there, and it's like, okay, well, we're going to, keep working up this ridge and try to get to a really good spot where I can, get a shot off. And she went in to her bed. Then she was bedded up next to this big old ponderosa. Um, the other thing I've noticed too, like in this real steep stuff, they typically like to bed on the uphill side of these big trees. So I've been, in the past, I've walked through some of this country and I'll just see a big flat spot right on the uphill side of these trees with a big pile of bear crab next to it. So they really like to bed on those uphill sides of trees in the really steep stuff. So another little tip there for you.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, it's just
shade themselves.
It's just flat, right? So
okay.
in the really steep stuff, they kind of wedge themselves in that uphill crotch. So
literally, like, okay, I gotcha. Yeah, I can see that.
Yep. So they'll make a real nice flat spot there. They'll kind of dig it out and they'll just lay there. There was one time I found a spot like that, and there was a pile of bear crap the size of my truck hood just sitting there. So literally, bear just lays there and does bear things.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's what she was doing. She was wedged up on the uphill side of this big tree, and she actually sat there for probably 3 hours. It was a lot longer than I expected her. Usually they go back and forth, feed to bed a lot quicker than that. At least in my experience, they have. But anyways, we got to 400 yards to set up on her, waited her out. Like I said, for about 3 hours, and then she finally stepped out, and I shot her at 400 yards, and got up to her, and got her taken care of. And then by the time we were hiking down the mountain, it was just getting dark. So it was that particular hunt was an all day thing. I spotted her first thing in the morning, and took us the rest of the day to get it done and back to the truck. But to answer your question, I guess if I feel like I'm in a good spot, I will sit there and glass all day. I've spotted bears first thing in the morning, right at first light. And I've also spotted them at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It also kind of depends on the weather too. I really like those days where you get periodic rainstorms intermixed with sunshine. So if you get a 30-minute rainstorm and then it's sunny right away, they just start crawling. Some of the best days I've had, it's kind of nasty weather to sit through, but you get a little bit of rain and it's followed up by sun. You better be ready, because if you're in a spot where there's bears, they're going to be moving, and that could be any time of the day. So
I think it's a good tip, because I'm also always hesitant to listen to people's answers for when's the best times to glass or whatever, and that's just me more so trying to get good conversation going and stuff too. But also, you have to be cognizant of that. Of everybody's gonna have some sort of bias to that, because if their answer is oh, I always glass my bears between 10 and 4, and it's okay, well, is that when you're glassing? Is that why you're glassing them? You know what I mean? Is it just your bias, or are you actually glassing all day? And then that's where you're finding most of them. So I don't know. I just like to always throw that out there and just pick guys' brains on. But the answer is always going to be glass as much as you can until your eyeballs fall out. Yeah.
I think it just depends too. If you're limited on time and you have to, if you're restricted to a certain part of the day and you have to choose between should I hunt the morning or the evening, I probably would. I'd probably hunt the evening or the midday. Right? But like I said, I have glassed them up at all times. So if I don't have any time limitations, you'll see me sitting there all day.
Cool, dude. Love it. Well, good work there. That was a great way to kick it off, and I loved watching that video too. Because you were with your wife, right?
I was. Yep. She was with me. Yep.
Yeah, and I forget. She says something in the video "Oh, you got him," or something. It was something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yep.
Nice. Okay, dude. I want to jump right into the next one. So that was this spring. That was basically May. This one really cool because my older brother did this hunt. Was it the year before last? Not with the same setup, or I don't even know. I forget where they were relative to where you were, but just overall, axis deer in Hawaii looked really fun. So, and you had some luck there as well. So you want to give a little bit of info on that? Kind of. I think a lot of people might be curious too, just the logistics of this hunt. So by all means, go for it.
Yeah, dude, this was a very impulsive decision on my end. I think I booked all that stuff in April, and we went in June.
So you texted me, you were like, "Didn't your brother go axis deer hunting?" I was like, "Yeah," and then you were like, "It wasn't much longer when you were like, yeah, I'm going."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that year. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, long story short, I guess some context here. So, my wife and I, when we got married back in 2023, we didn't do a honeymoon. We did like a little tiny trip around Idaho and went and visited some friends and stuff, and we bought a house. So we didn't do like an actual like honeymoon trip, right? So we were always joking around like, oh, maybe someday we'll do a trip, or whatever. And I was like, well, you know what? Like, we should just do something now. Like, there's no better time than to do it now. So, and of course, me, like, if I'm gonna go
I'm gonna make this a hunting trip.
yeah, if I'm gonna burn vacation, like, I want a tag in my pocket or something, right? So,
Right.
and she was this worked out perfect. She was envisioning something like tropical, like warm weather, right? And I was like, okay, this is gonna work, I think. Um, so I started reaching out to some other people that I had known that had done that hunt or a similar one. You included, I inquired about your brother, and
Mm-hmm.
and it was to kind of figure out the logistics thing, because that is kind of the main challenge for a trip like that. There's a lot that goes into it, right? Like travel, how do you get your stuff there? And then more importantly, like if you do fill your tag or tags, like how do you get that back, right? So that was all new to me. So I had to figure out how to do all that. It's actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So that was a pleasant surprise. But yeah, just getting everything figured out, from like the travel to the lodging to the hunting access or the permits and how to get tags and getting a rental car and stuff like that. Like that was the challenge for sure. But yeah, I planned the whole thing. My wife was super happy because she didn't have to do any of the planning. I was like, hey, like, don't worry, I got this. Like, I'll book it all. Got it all taken care of, and yeah, we went. And so it was like mid-June when we touched down there, and yeah, we spent the first 5 days on a bigger island, just kind of having like a traditional Hawaiian vacation, just soaking up the beach and that sort of thing. And then we spent 3 solid days hunting, and then 1 day to kind of like pack everything up and get it ready to come home. So yeah, it was awesome, and we were able to hunt 2 different species. So axis deer being like the primary one, and then there also was mouflon sheep there as well. So I was able to shoot a pretty decent ram and bring that back too. So yeah, it was a great trip. I highly recommend it to everybody. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. I forgot about the sheep too.
Mm-hmm.
And then what weapon did you decide to take on this one?
So yeah, so I took a rifle for this one. I think if I were to go back, especially if I had a little bit more time, I would probably take the bow. It's a bit cheaper to do it with the bow. Actually, it's a lot cheaper to do it with the bow, at least where I was. I think it would be a lot harder, but there's also a draw because of that, right? It sounds interesting to me because of that. So, yeah, I think going back in the future, I would probably take a bow. But yeah, for this particular hunt, it was a rifle hunt.
Sweet. So this is a hunt where it's like, if you maybe are looking at your Western hunting point portfolio and, you're got some time to burn, and, it's like, oh, this year I might not, hunt a Western state, and somebody lives like down south or the Midwest or back east or something, and, they want like some sort of cool adventure hunt to put on the year. Sounds like it can be done.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Yeah, and the cool thing about it is like, and I think most of the islands are like this. First of all, there's not access deer on all the islands, but the islands that do have it, like, you can typically hunt year round. So there's not like, a certain window you have to hit. Like, you can hunt in the spring or in the winter or in the summer. So it's pretty cool. You can definitely make a cool trip out of it. That's kind of out of your normal hunting window. It's like an off season thing, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Is there? Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Because you can hunt them whenever, but is there a rut? Were you hunting the rut? Does that even help you? I don't know.
I mean, the answer to your question, is there a rut? The answer is yes. If you were to ask me when the rut is, I would say it's all the time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I can only, I mean, for those listening, don't like crucify me if I get this biologically wrong. But from what I've heard, so the axis deer came from, I want to say it was India, and when they were put on Hawaii, at least the way I've heard it explained, was like something in their internal clock kind of got rearranged. And basically, that led to them being able to breed year round, essentially.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Maybe I should say it this way. So, like, I don't know if a single deer could breed at any time during the year, but like within the population, there are deer breeding at all times of the year. Yeah.
Something's going on. It makes
Exact-
sense why there's because there's a lot of them, from what I understand.
Yeah, it's insane. I think, at least on the island I was on, from what I read, it had the highest deer density of any place in like on Earth. Like it had the highest deer density of anywhere. I can't remember what the stats were, but the amount of deer per square mile was like insane. So yeah, it was interesting because like at any given moment you could have bucks that are hard horned and rutting. You could also have bucks that are in velvet. You could have bucks that are shedding their horns. Yeah, just kind of crazy. I will say this though, I think there is like, from what I've heard, majority of the population breeds kind of in that like May to July window. So I think a lot of the deer do kind of breed or rut in that time frame. But like I said, there are a lot of exceptions where bucks are breeding does like well beyond that window. So
okay. And when you tagged out on that one and the sheep, was there anything in particular that you learned kind of just from like sealing the deal with those, or was it kind of just like, there's a lot there, it's just all about having it come together? Or did you find that there was like maybe a little bit of a strategy to that hunt in that animal?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, the animal density where we were was just crazy high. So like, it would be hard to sit up on a glassing hill and not see animals. I guess I'll put it that way.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of animals over there, and I think that's why it's a draw for a lot of people in the off season, because it's a way to like get extra experience, right? Like get some reps outside of the normal hunting season. Yeah, the particular hunts that I was on, I'm trying to think. I mean, it was basically just sitting up on a glassing hill, and they would step out, and you'd have your pick at one. One thing that I thought was interesting is the vocalizations that the Axis bucks make. Yeah, they make a cool vocalization, and I guess the way I kind of explain it, it's very similar to like, when you have like a white-tailed doe that blows at you, you get busted. She blows like that. That's very similar to how these bucks sound. So the first morning here I was, I thought we were busting all these deer, and it was actually just bucks rutting. So.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't have known that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so I kind of put that nugget together on the first day. I was like, oh, that's actually that's a good sound, not a bad sound. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. We're already trying to figure out how we're gonna get back there in the next couple years, just because it was such a good trip.
That's awesome, dude. My brother loved it there.
Mm-hmm.
They hunted axis deer. They hunted no, it wasn't mouflon sheep. It was these goats. Forget what it was, and I forget what island they were on too. I don't know. But he just thought it was just such a cool environment where it's like you're on the beach, and then there's mountains right there, and then where they were chasing these goats, there was like a desert, and then so it was him and his wife were out there, and then my parents flew out for like the last few days, and my dad tagged out on one of these goats. Then they just spent time like just exploring all this stuff, and it just seemed like awesome. Like they really want to go back, and like I would be like, and I was like, yeah, if you need somebody else to do it too, I definitely would, because yeah, it sounds sweet, and it looks like the buck you got too was a nice buck.
Yeah, he's a pretty good buck. I mean, I don't know if he was like a 30-incher or anything like that, but I actually had never put a tape on him. But yeah, really, really good buck. I was super happy with him. It was the last day that we had to hunt, so definitely wasn't going to pass him up. Yeah, and the other thing too about axis deer, I don't know, did your brother give you any venison after that? Did he give you any to try?
I think I just came over one day and ate some. Yeah, really good, right?
Dude, it's like, I mean, it's probably my favorite right now. It's insanely good. Yeah. Yeah, I remember, so like I said, we had 3 days to hunt, and then we had 1 day afterwards just to kind of like decompress and get everything packed up and take care of all the meat and stuff. And that morning after I shot that buck, I woke up and cooked up his tenderloins, and had a big old side of pineapple, and it was like the best breakfast.
Dude, you can't beat that.
Dude, it was like the most Hawaiian thing you could have for breakfast. And yeah, it was phenomenal. And we still have quite a bit of meat. Actually, so I took a good portion of that buck to the butcher on the island because we were short on time. So I actually took my vacuum sealer and stuff and did most of the processing myself. But because I was running out of time, I had him do most of my buck for me. And the guy is awesome. I can give you his contact information after this if you ever go there. But when I went and picked up my buck, he asked me if I wanted basically 2 deers worth of extra meat, because he gets a bunch of donations because there's so many deer on the island. A lot of the locals, shoot them as a nuisance, and then they donate the meat to the butcher. So he has a bunch of extra meat, and he's like, "Hey, you guys are going back to the States. Do you want this extra meat?" And I was like, yeah. Please,
yeah.
whatever you can give us. So yeah, he gave us like 2 extra deers worth. So I was able to share it with some people at work and whatnot and some friends. And obviously we have a bunch of it still at the house here. So it's phenomenal meat. And the sheep was pretty good too, honestly. It has a unique flavor, but I think it's really good. So,
yeah. And real quick with the sheep, was there? So what did that look like? Was there a lot of them there, or?
Yeah, there was. I was
more
expecting
glassing. Okay.
I was expecting to see way more deer than sheep, but honestly, it was probably 50-50. And it's kind of weird because, like the morning I shot my ram, I was sitting on this point, and they actually came from down below me to the right, and I couldn't see them, but I could hear them. They sounded like a herd of domestic sheep, if like. They were yeah, it was like it's kind of crazy to hear like a bunch of sheep below me, and then sure enough here they pop out. And yeah, they're actually surprisingly really small. The mouflon are. I mean, I think the ram I shot, like, he was probably no more than 60 pounds. Just pretty small, but just a super cool animal too. I've never took a sheep before, so it was pretty sweet. It's not like a Rocky Mountain Bighorn or anything like that, but still really cool,
Yeah, that's your sheep tag. There you go. You did it.
Yeah, over the counter sheep tag. Yep.
Yeah. So they kind of live intermingled, like the deer and the sheep. Like,
oh yeah, yep, same exact country. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Might have to follow up on that one. Sounds like an awesome trip.
For sure, man. Yeah, I highly recommend it. It was a great time.
Yeah. So we'll keep rolling right along. So already, such good hunts, and then I remember talking to you after that trip, and just keeping in touch, and you were telling me about these tags you're picking up. Mm-hmm. So you drew a controlled hunt for an August mule deer tag, which seemed awesome. Mm-hmm. But then also, I remember you telling me too, like, and I don't know which came first, but you were like, "Hey, my wife drew a moose tag." Mm-hmm. So I don't even know how much time I'm going to have for myself because this is going to be like incredible. So like, walk us through those.
Yeah, dude. Oh man. This is a funny story. So, all of us have like preference point portfolios, right? So you kind of know, like, in certain states when you're going to pull tags, based on the odds and whatnot. You can kind of get a good feel of, what tags you're going to have. So I knew that I was due for an antelope tag in Wyoming and an elk tag in Colorado. And that was going to be, a couple weeks of the season right there in the middle of October or whatever it was. So going into the application season, I had already applied for those tags, and my wife was then applying for her moose tag, and she was asking me which unit she should put in for. And, the odds vary by unit, right? Some units have better odds than others. And, oh man, this one really came back to bite me. I knew that I was going to have a full season already, and I knew that if she was going to pull a moose tag, I would want to make sure that we had, enough time to allocate to it. These other hunts that I was already put in for, it was with, hunts with my dad and my friend, and I wasn't really going to be able to move those dates at all. So selfishly, I'll admit it, I told her to put in for the tag that was going to be harder to pull. It was a really good unit. I knew if she was going to pull it, it would be a slam dunk hunt. but I knew the odds were worse, and I figured she wouldn't pull it. So that would take some of the pressure off of the season, right?
Yep.
So she's like, okay. So she puts in for that tag that has the worst odds, and she freaking pulled that tag, man. So I learned my lesson there. I learned my lesson. Yeah, I was super happy for her, dude. She was so happy. She sent me the email confirmation. I was actually on a work trip in Portland when she drew that tag, and she sent me the email confirmation. It like didn't register right away. I was like, wait, what is what? Like, is this real? He's like, yeah, I pulled my moose tag, and I was like, holy cow! So that changed some things. I started thinking about our scouting season a lot differently, and the nice thing about that tag was that she had a lot of time. She had like 3 months to get it done. So I wasn't too worried about time and whatnot. And the success rate for those hunts are really high. Usually, Fish and Game wants you to be successful for those. I think the success rate usually is anywhere from like 85 to 100% on that.
Oh wow, yeah.
So it's like you're probably gonna shoot a moose. It's just like which one do you want to shoot, sort of thing. Like you gonna hold out for a big one or that sort of thing. And she didn't want to shoot a small one, so we definitely had to put some time in scouting and whatnot. But yeah, so she pulled that tag, and then actually when we were in Hawaii, I found out that I pulled all those other tags, that Idaho controlled hunt tag, and then also the Wyoming antelope and whatnot. I think the Colorado one, the confirmation from that tag came a little bit later, but yeah, our season filled up pretty quick.
Yeah, Colorado, that had to have been still in the summer at some point, like June or something. So you're getting all these emails come in, and you're just like, oh god.
Oh man, I was like, it was great, right? Like, it's like, oh man, this is great. These are gonna be really, really fun hunts. But I also knew it was like, man, like I'm gonna be real busy from August all the way through middle of October, which is great. Like there's no reason to complain about it. It was super blessed, and yeah, just glad it all worked out the way it did.
Yep. So you bombed for what was first then? The early mule deer, correct?
Yeah, that tag opened August 15th. So yeah, I started scouting hard for that one, middle of July, and headed down there August 15th, and I took my buck on the 19th.
Yeah, and that was a rifle tag.
It's a rifle tag. Yeah, it was a really unique tag. Yeah, the success rates weren't super high or anything like that. Like you got to work real hard, but it is really cool because you get to hunt bucks in the summer range up in the Alpine, which is my favorite place to hunt them. I just love hunting the high country, and to do it with a rifle is definitely an advantage, right? Weather was hot. I definitely saw. I actually didn't see as many deer as I wish I would have. Had I not scouted that, it's very likely I wouldn't have shot my buck. Because actually the buck I killed, I did find him a couple weeks before the season opened, and I think I shot him like 300 yards from where I glassed him up a couple weeks prior. He wasn't the biggest buck that I had found. There was another buck on that same mountain, maybe the next mountain over, that I think would have gone a little bigger. The one I actually took, he was just kind of a big, gnarly 2x3. And the other buck that was living there, he was, I think he was a straight 4. So, yeah, super cool. The buck I took, I don't have any age results for him yet, but I did take his teeth. I'll have him lab aged. But he just looks super old and gnarly. Like he's got a big old split ear, and just, those muley bucks, when they get old and mature, they just develop that huge gut, big belly on them. And actually,
belly.
Yeah, and I have phone scope footage of this deer standing next to some other deer, and the other bucks he was with, they look like fawns almost. It was crazy how much bigger his body was. But yeah, super cool deer. That was a solo hunt. Went down there and spent 5 or 6 days by myself in the high country. It was a good time.
That's sweet, man. And I learned so much about mule deer this year. Like, just spent a lot of time chasing mule deer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in Colorado, was able to glass and watch a ton of deer. And I mentioned this before on a different episode, maybe with when I had Braxton on or something, but like really getting to watch different age class deer interact and move around and how they act. And like when you for me, what I think's a good buck, but when I talk to guys like you and other guys like I'm friends with around here that just chase like 190 or nothing, but it's but I'm learning, like you learn like when you think you see a good buck, and it might be a good buck, I'm not dismissing that, but the point is like there's such a difference when you watch like a 3-year-old and then you see these like mature, and I don't say I saw a ton, but like there's just one that's really sticking out in my mind. My hunting partner, who's a lot more experience than I did, was there. Maybe a 5, 6-year-old, 7-year-old deer, like just absolutely like the body and the pot belly, and just like you can really see the mass too. Just watching that deer with these other bucks that my mind was like, oh, that's a good buck. It's just different, man. Like when you see a mature buck, like I just had these. It's hard to explain, but it really hit me multiple times. Like this year, like, oh, different, different
Right.
animal.
Yeah, dude, and as you're watching them too, you'll notice that they act different too, right? Like
they do. They just boss.
Different quirks and stuff too. Yeah, I remember watching the buck I killed in 2022. I did get him lab age, and he came back at 7, so he was a pretty old buck. He didn't score super great, but still one of my favorite bucks that I've taken. But I remember watching him in July, and he was actually by himself when I first glassed him up, and he was picking up his head to scan around him every 15 seconds. He was eating, and he'd pick up, and he would just look, right? He'd go back to eating, he'd pick it back up and look. Like they just do things differently. You could have like a 2 or 3-year-old out there, and they're just gonna have their head down, just eating, right? Those bigger bucks are different. Like they know what's up, right?
Prime example. The buck I arrowed, maybe he was a 4-point, maybe 2, 3-year-old. I was able to get a stalk on him, get in close, put an arrow in him. I'm not like I couldn't have been happier. But my hunting partner, older guy, really wanted a mature deer if he was going to do it. He went in on a stalk, and there was no like my buck. I did bump him like when I got close. He hopped twice, stopped, and looked back, and then I got a shot. I was already at full draw, but he was able to give me a little bit of a window. My buddy got within 30 yards of one of these like very mature bucks you were talking about. It was again a 3x3, but just like when you see it in the spotter and you just see that rack at first, you're like, oh, elk? Is that an elk? Like
Right.
It just had that like feel to it. And he put a stalk on. He got into bow range. He said something like maybe it was like his release hit his bino harness or just some like odd sound. That buck did not look back. That buck, when he took off, like he took off, head down, gone. So it was that's just another example of like there's a difference between these different age class deer.
Yep, for sure, man. Yeah, I feel like when they get to like that 4-year-old mark, like things just change, right? They get super cagey, and makes it frustrating, but also extremely rewarding to chase them.
For sure. And real quick before we jump off the muley, and again, it was such a cool looking buck too, dude. Like just when they're in velvet too, like it's just so awesome. But got it done. Sounds like an awesome hunt. But talk a little bit too about what your thoughts were and what you found when you went down there to scout in mid-July, you said, and when you came back in mid-August, because it sounds like you found them in a similar spot. Did you find a lot of the same deer? Like, is that kind of what your thought was? Wherever I'm going to find them now, I'm going to find them then. And I don't know. I'm curious. That's something I'm going to ask a lot of guys too. I think like thought processes around scouting and then where to be when the hunt comes.
Yeah, so I scouted a couple different places, 2 main places, and the unit was pretty far from my house, right? I mean, it was like an 8.5-hour drive to get there, so I really wasn't able to get down there a lot, and I was just dealing with the weekends again, right? Like I couldn't spend a whole week down there or anything, so I was driving down, late Friday night, and I was staying until midday on Sunday and heading home. So I got to scout 2 different places. The first place I scouted, there was a lot more deer. I think the first day in there, we saw like 17 different bucks, which is, I think, pretty decent for that spot. Nothing crazy though. One buck might have gone 150, 155 maybe. Not something I was super interested in shooting. A lot of deer though, a lot of 2 points and 3 points and whatnot. But I was still looking for something, a little bit better. So I went to this other spot and noticeably a lot less deer. The density there was a lot lower. But the first morning, I actually glassed up those 2 pretty good bucks, the one I ended up taking and that other 4x4. They were together with some other smaller bucks. But those were the only bucks that I saw in that whole spot. And I don't think I could scout the next weekend. So when I found those bucks, it was like 2 weeks before the season opened. And I couldn't scout the weekend before the season opened. So, and I don't like to really go into a place blind. I like to have a buck picked out. And, my thought process there is like, if I have a buck picked out, late July, early August, like, especially if it's an August tag, like he's going to be there somewhere. Like I have to tell myself that, like, there could be things that happen. He could get killed by a lion or pushed out by predators or, even pushed out by hunters. Although I wasn't really expecting that to happen because this tag was even before all the archery seasons were going to open. So I figured, there's a really good chance he's going to be right there. So I felt comfortable once I committed to hunting that deer that he was going to be there somewhere. I just had to dig him up. So yeah, that's what I did. Actually, I started off hunting there where this deer was that I shot. I glassed up, I don't think it was this buck. I think it was the other buck. I glassed up the other buck the day before the season. And he didn't look as big as I thought he was. So I was like, oh man, it's like, do I want to sit here now for the season knowing that, this buck and the other buck, which was the buck I ended up shooting, I was like, oh, maybe they're not as big as I thought they were. So then I was like, well, should I go back to the drawing board or should I go, what should I do here? So I actually, I think I glassed their opening morning, didn't see any bucks. And then I pulled out and I did something I shouldn't have done. I went and looked for new deer. I had a week to hunt, so I had a little bit of time, but yeah, I just wasn't confident that those deer were what I was looking for. So I went out looking for new bucks, struck out, and then in my tent one night, I was watching the phone scope footage again, and I was like going slow motion through the frames from the phone scope footage, and I got a really good angle at him, and I was like, dang it, Logan, you messed up. Like, you should be back on that mountain where that buck is because he's better than you think he is. So that next morning, I packed up from where I was and went back to the mountain where these deer were. And, the first morning in there, I shot him. So
nice.
Yeah. So, yes, to answer your question, like, if I find a buck, late summer, especially if it's a late summer tag, yeah, just commit to it, and he's probably going to be there. Most of my deer hunting usually takes place in October, and if I find a buck in August, like, I'm typically still convinced he's there come early October. That's what I tell myself, and doesn't mean I'm going to get him, but it gives me confidence when I'm hunting that area to know that he's probably there somewhere.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. Well, good work there too. And then, dude, we gotta talk about this moose tag.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, it was a once in a lifetime experience for sure. I kind of poke fun at Erica, my wife, because like I said, she had a lot of time to get it done. The season opened August 30th, and she had till today, actually, November 23rd, when we're recording this.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so she had a long time to do it, and she punched that tag 30 minutes into the season.
Right. I remember, like, you were like, dude, I don't even know how much time I'm going to have in October to do whatever, you know. But no, it was like, heard you tagged out pretty quick.
Yeah, she was all nervous because I was going to be gone, for a couple of weeks in October in Wyoming and Colorado. So I was trying to make arrangements for my friends, people to take her out hunting if they needed to and that sort of thing. But yeah, we didn't have to worry about it at all. Opening day, yeah, she shot that moose, and it was so cool, like, scouting for that tag. So we did spend some weekends in the summer scouting, and the unit we were in, there's a lot of moose up here. So I think the first weekend scouting, we saw like 17 different moose, and I think 11 of them were bulls. Nothing super crazy, but then we did find a group of 4 bulls. It was a different weekend, but we found a different group of 4 bulls, and 2 of them were shooters, and one of them was the one she ended up shooting. Pretty
Did
unique.
you have an antler restriction?
No, it's just any bull.
Okay.
Yep. So no restrictions there. Yeah, the one she shot, he's got, I think I sent you a picture, or you seen it, but he's got like his fronts come out, and they basically drop. He's a big drop tying off of his front there.
Yeah, I want to look at it again. Go ahead though.
Yeah, super cool moose. He's not like super wide. A lot of guys talk about like 50-inch Shiras moose. He's not super wide. He's low 40s, but just the mass, super thick paddles, really good fronts. I think he's got 4 points on his one side and 3 on the other on his fronts. And like I said, the one drops down.
Yes.
We're hanging off it. Yeah.
These pictures are awesome. Yeah. Dude, they're just so like, I mean, I walk up on elk and you're like, man, this thing's big. But a moose, did you have like a thought, like when you're scouting, thinking about how the hunt goes and everything, like, hey, we can only get so far from the truck or something like that? Or how did that look like?
I mean, yeah, it's always in the back of your head, right? Like the fortunate thing is the unit, there's a lot of roads. So most of them are closed. You can't get a pickup on, you can't drive a pickup on them, but you can get a 4-wheeler just about anywhere. So we had several friends that had 4-wheelers that we could use. So yeah, and she dumped him right on a road. He died right in the middle of a 2-track. So we were able to get the 4-wheelers right up to him, which is a bit of a rare occurrence. But yeah, it worked out perfect. You're right though. They're insanely huge. Like I've walked up on plenty of elk before, and I still they take my breath away walking up on an elk. But walking up on a moose is a whole nother level. It's like walking up on a horse.
Yeah, I've never seen one on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Like walked up to. I've seen them like out, but was that the first one you seen like on the ground and like took
Yep.
care of?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just a really, I mean, it's a once in a lifetime tag, and that definitely held true for this hunt. My dad actually made the trip out to come hunt with us, so he got to experience it all too. And yeah, I mean, for lack of a better term, it was just beautiful. Like it was amazing. That night before the season, we went up to this spot where we had figured this moose was living, and this bull and 3 others came out the night before the season in this clear cut. And the next morning he was 200 yards from where we saw him the night before. So like it was just, everything just fell into place perfectly. Yeah, really cool.
Dude, that's awesome. And is there anything when it comes to locating moose that is worth like a lessons learned or like something you could share where you're like, maybe next, it's hard to say you could do anything different because you tagged out so early, but just as far as like finding moose, if you have this tag, is it just really about just covering country, spending time behind the spotter, glassing up? I don't know. I feel like I'd look for some thick areas with a creek in the bottom. I don't know, the typical things. What were some things you were looking for?
Yeah, it's a good question, dude. Like I mentioned, we only got to hunt for 30 minutes, but right. we did do a decent amount of scouting, right? So
yeah,
this unit here, it's basically all logging country. I know there's a really good population. Like the moose density in this unit is really good, so that was already an advantage for us. Like I knew we were going to see moose. I didn't know how many or how big of bulls we were going to see. But yeah, for us, I mean, especially early season, like they weren't, they don't really rut until like the end of September, that sort of thing. So we weren't like looking for cows, or we weren't really calling or anything. It was really just glassing, like they're kind of like elk and other critters. They come out to feed in these clear cuts, early morning and in the evening. So that's what we were doing. We were just glassing cuts mostly, getting on these really good vantages where you can see tons of country. And moose aren't like muleys, right? Like you can see them from 3 miles away without any binos. Yeah. What's that big black thing over there? Yeah, it was really easy to see them. So that was our play. Get up high and glass and look over a bunch of country, and yeah, it worked out for us. I mean, there's probably a lot of other guys that have done a lot more moose hunting that have, some better tips and tricks. But for us, I would say we're pretty good glassers, so we wanted to use that to our advantage, and yeah, it all worked out.
So I've heard moose is pretty good.
Mhm.
So you still think the axis deer is number one though?
Yeah, I mean, dude, moose is great. It's a really mild meat, kind of like elk,
Mm-hmm.
and you get a whole bunch of it, which is really nice. We went and bought 2 more freezers after she shot that thing. Um, so yeah, we have 4 freezers now in our garage. But yeah, I mean, if I had one or the other, I'd probably take the axis deer over the moose. But that's being
Nice.
picky. That's being picky. Like
Yeah.
it's all really
You're-
good.
yeah, I bet. So
Mhm.
then you're like, okay, can't believe it. Did not need to take that much time. Get this moose tag punched,
Mhm.
and then then just rolled into. Well, I know you elk hunted in September,
Mhm.
and we're talking about all these animals that hit the ground. But
Mhm.
you want to talk about your because I was texting you. I wasn't. I was also elk hunting in September in Idaho.
Mhm.
But if you just want to touch on that a little bit, then we'll wrap up with your journeys out of state.
Sure. Yeah, dude. I basically wrote the whole month of September off, thinking I wasn't gonna get to hunt elk or anything.
Right.
I was planning on moose hunting with Erica the whole month. So, yeah, I never even went and bought my tag or anything. And then she shot that moose the first day, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I kind of have a September back. Because she shot that moose August 30th. So, yeah, I went and bought my tag. I mean, I had been shooting my bow still, like I was ready to go.
You're such a good guy, though. Like you were like, nope, she's got the moose tag. I'm not even gonna buy your elk tag.
Yep, I didn't even do it. Yeah, I mean,
What a
it
guy.
it was. I knew it meant a lot to her, right? I mean, it's a
Yeah.
once in a lifetime harvest, not tags. If she didn't fill it, there's still a chance she could draw it again. But um, once in a lifetime harvest, we were gonna give it everything we had to get her a good bull. And but yeah, once we did, I was like, okay, well, I mean, I got some weekends in September yet. I was like, let's try to stick an elk. And yeah, dude, it was brutal, honestly. I don't know what it was, but this year it seemed like the hunting pressure. So the unit that I hunt, it's close to my house, and that's why I hunt it. Definitely not the best unit out there. There's decent elk population and some good bulls and stuff, but it's super accessible, so it's really easy for guys to get in with 4-wheelers and whatnot. Like, you're always battling the pressure. And I've gotten away from it in the past, like there's ways to do it. You hunt the weekdays instead of the weekends, that sort of thing. And the nice thing about it being so close is I can go hunt in the morning or evening after work as well as the weekends. So I was doing that as much as I could, but it just seemed like regardless of whether or not I was hunting the weekend or the weekdays, like there was every bull that I found, there was at least one other person chasing him. So that made it really tough. And I don't know, the last couple years, like I really haven't had any issues, but this year in particular, it seemed like it was tough to find a bull that you had to yourself. But I kind of, I tried to use that to my advantage the best I could. And I had an opportunity at a bull, and it kind of haunts me, honestly. I found this bull early in the morning. I sent out one locator, and he hit me back right away. And he was down in this pretty good drainage, just big, thick timber drainage. And after he bugled back at me, I mean, he was going by himself every 2 to 5 minutes, just cranking by himself. So I was like, this is perfect. Like, I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to try to slip in there. So that's what I did. So he kept bugling, and I just kept working my way closer and closer and closer. And he ended up going up and over this ridge, and I was, right behind him. I actually caught a glimpse of him in the woods at like 80 yards, and he was a really solid 5x5 with a really strong bugle too. Like, I thought he was a 6 for sure, but he was actually just a 5. He went up over this ridge, and I got to the top of the ridge, looking down the backside where he had just gone, and I heard a bull bugle way in the bottom, and I was like, man, like there's no way he got there that fast. Like, that's got to be a different bull or something. It turned out that was actually a hunter, and when he bugled that hunter down there in the bottom, this bull ripped one like 40 yards from me in the woods. Like he was right there. So I was like, oh, this is perfect, you know. So he was bugling back and forth with that hunter, and I was right there. He was in my lap. So I just kept sneaking in, like slowly, just, you know, one step after another. And he started raking a tree. And at that point, he was probably like 25 yards, and all I could see was the tree moving. And I was like, oh man, he's like right here. I took a couple more steps, and then I could kind of make out his body. Took a couple more steps, and then I could see, like, you know, the back half of him. And I was like, you know, like trying to figure out if I could get a window, you know, to shoot this thing. And he was at this point probably like 22 yards, 21 yards. And finally, I kind of figured out if I could take a step to my left, I might have like a narrow window to shoot through, right? Meanwhile, this hunter below me is still bugling every couple minutes, and this bull is screaming back at him. Well, this bull was kind of looking uphill, kind of my direction, and I was already knocked on, hooked up, and I needed him to like look away so I could take a step to the left and draw. Well, I figured I'd wait for that hunter to bugle again, hoping that he was going to respond, and that's exactly what happened. So that guy down at the bottom bugled. This bull turned his head, ripped one back, and I took a step to the left and drew my bow back, and the bull turned his head back toward me when I was halfway through my draw cycle. So he caught that that last little bit when I, you know, settled my anchor there, and he caught me, and he was looking at me, and I was on him. I had that pin on him, top pin, right, and I was just settling that pin. And I was just starting to pull, and literally like a millisecond before that shot broke, that bull whirled away from me, and my arrow went like right past him. Like if he would have given me like another half second, I saw where that arrow hit the ground behind him. I would have center punched him, and it would have been a done deal. But yeah, he just caught me at that last second, that little bit of movement, and I didn't get him. But still a super cool hunt. It's one of those like scenarios where you can use some of the hunting pressure to your advantage. But yeah, that was basically the best opportunity I had though in September. Found some other bulls, but like I said, you know, guys were bugling at them a lot, and made it kind of tough. And I also had some other tags coming up, so I wasn't like, you know, super bummed that things didn't work out in September, because I know I had some other cool hunts coming up that I was really excited for. Yeah, and then, you know, a couple days after elk season ended, I jumped in the truck and headed to Wyoming. So
yeah, and then we can go there too, and that's the thing too. It's like, well, again, first world problem, like too many tags, like
right.
You know, oh, you know, poor me. But there really is like truth to like, dude, you gotta like, and you've even told me this, like, make sure like you're not like, you gotta focus on like the hunt in front of you.
Yep.
Like, you know, you don't want to get too much going on, and like maybe that was even like a little bit of a factor. Like you just came off these hunts, like we're not even like mentally like, you know, just so much going on, and then you got these hunts like ahead of you too. Like that again, first world problem, but that is stress on the mind.
Dude, that's so true. Yeah, like that's something that I say a lot. Like I don't want too many tags, you know. Like a lot of guys think like, oh, the more tags, you know, the better, right? But like that's not how I think. Like for me, you know, if I had one elk tag and one deer tag a year, like I would be just fine, you know. Because even if these are over the counter tags, like, you know, if you're trying to make good on those tags, especially if you're looking for bigger critters, like time is the biggest factor, right? And you want to be able to have the time needed to allocate to those tags to do them justice, right? So it can be real tough, like you're saying, if you have too many tags and you're going from one to the next, and while you're hunting one, you're thinking about the next one, and yeah, it can be pretty detrimental and exhausting, just tiring too, right?
I know, yeah. But all right, we're heading to Wyoming for this antelope tag.
Yep.
And then, so how'd that go? Was this with Dad?
This was with my dad. Yeah, this was one of those tags where I was looking forward to it, just like, just spending time in the truck with him, right? Like, you know, antelope, you can make it, you know, an adventure for sure. Like you can make it as hard as you want. I was looking for more of like a relaxed, enjoyable, like spend time with my dad, look over lots of antelope, just kind of have fun with it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we did. It was a pretty good unit, pretty tough tag to pull. I've been waiting quite a few years to get it, and there's a lot of other easier tags to draw for antelope in Wyoming, but this particular unit had like a lot of sentimental value because actually this was the unit where I did my first ever Western hunt. We did a cow elk hunt here. Gosh, maybe it was 2018 or something like that.
I remember you telling me this story. Kind of lit the fire a little bit.
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah.
That was
Oh, that's cool. So you coming back.
Yep. Yeah, we kind of have an attachment to that unit. Like I said, kind of a tough antelope tag to pull, but there's a bunch of them there. Like it's a great unit, so I knew we were gonna have a good time. Just excited to spend the time with my dad because he lives in Wisconsin still, so I don't get to see him as much as I wish I did. But yeah, really good time. Looked over a bunch of bucks. Yeah, shot my buck actually on the second day. He was the best one we had seen up to that point. My dad was also there a handful of days before I was looking over some antelope and stuff, and that was the biggest one that we had seen. So, yeah, and the stalk itself is just super cool. That country is, at least where we were, is pretty flat, so a lot of belly crawling to get into range and stuff. But, yep, made good on that tag, and yeah, I just kind of spent the next couple of days just hanging out with him before I drove south into Colorado.
Nice. And when you say stalk, how far were you stalking in, and then what was your effective range on that hunt?
Yeah, I mean, I try to get to 400 if I can on any critter I'm shooting with the rifle. My gun, I'm definitely capable of shooting further than that, but for me, 400 is a really good yardage. I like to get to 400 or in. That antelope buck, I think I shot him at 250 yards, so not too far. It was a really manageable shot, but yeah, I definitely, the ground was so flat that I had to belly crawl, kind of using like sagebrush, little tiny sagebrush bushes as my cover to get into range. And yeah, it was great. That buck was bedded, and got all set up on him and probably waited like an hour for him to stand up. And yeah, once he stood up, I took him, and yeah, worked out real good.
Could you have shot him in his bed?
I could have, but I chose not to.
And you chose not to? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like if that was a big giant muley buck and he was like, maybe he was in some thick cover or whatever, it's like I probably would have shot him because they don't give you the time of day usually. But he was in the wide open. Our wind was good. I figured there was nothing that was going to push him up. And I was also really looking at his head. Like I was also trying to judge him. Antelope are kind of tricky to judge unless you're really good. If you've looked at a lot of them, they can be easier, I guess. But for me, I haven't done a lot of antelope hunts, so I spent a lot of time like just judging him, making sure that it was a buck that I wanted, and I wasn't, I was kind of hemming and hawing about whether or not I should shoot him, and it wasn't because he was big or small. It was because I wanted to hunt more with my dad, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so like for me, the battle was like, do I want it to end right now or do I want to keep going, right? It wasn't like, oh, this is a small buck, I shouldn't shoot him. It was like, no, this is a pretty nice buck, but like, do I want it to be over? And then my dad was behind me, and I turned back. I was on the gun. Actually, the buck had stood up, and he was standing there eating. And I looked back at my dad, and I like kind of gave him one of these, and my dad just gave me a big thumbs up, and I was like, okay, like, we're going to do it.
Got to now.
Yeah, we're going to do it. So, yeah, we took that buck, and yeah, it was great. That night, I think it was that night or the next night, we cooked up some backstrap. Or actually, no, it was tenderloin, piece of tenderloin over the camp stove at the tent there. And yeah, it was one of those days I'll remember for a long time.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's special. Did he have a tag too?
He did not. So he pulled that antelope tag a couple of years prior. Him and my sister actually went. Like I said, it's kind of a tough tag to get, but for them, they had that they had a good break in their schedule a couple of years ago to where they could do it together, and I thought that was super cool for them to just go spend time, my sister and my dad, and I had some other hunts going on, so I decided to hold off that year, and then I told my dad, like, hey, when I put in for this tag, like, you can go with me, and we'll have a good time.
Awesome, dude. That's awesome. So I don't want to say best for last because these are all these are all like the best. But the pictures and like the little bit of stories I got from this Colorado elk hunt,
Mm-hmm.
dude, it sounded pretty awesome. You guys did pretty well. So
Yeah.
let's dive right into it.
Yeah, dude, it was epic. Probably one of my favorite hunts that I've done up to this point. They're all good. It's hard to pick a favorite hunt, right? But this one was special too. It's actually, we were in the unit where I met you, actually. That same unit. So yeah, we pulled first rifle tags there. And so that season opened October 15th. So I actually got there. I shot my antelope October 6th. Spent a couple days there with Dad in Wyoming. I probably got to Colorado on like the 10th or 11th. The first rifle season's a bit shorter than the other ones, so I wanted to make sure I wanted to scout beforehand, right? Kind of have some bulls figured out before the season opened, so we could make some quick work. Because me and my buddy both had tags, so we had 2 tags in 5 days. That's, if you're trying to shoot decent bulls, that's kind of tricky to do. So yeah, I got there a handful of days early. Did a lot of scouting, glassed up a bunch of elk. I was pretty excited. We had I don't know, maybe a dozen or so different bulls kind of lined up. Kind of knew where they were hanging. And then we actually went and got llamas. We rented llamas for this trip. So we went and picked those guys up the day before the season. And we packed in like, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles, set up a base camp. And then most of the hunting we did was another 2 or 3 miles further into the backcountry.
Nice, dude. And I was gonna ask you, I couldn't remember if you did tell me you use the llamas again or not, but that does seem like just such a good can give you so much freedom just having some llamas. I haven't done a hunt with them yet, but that's just something I'm looking to explore. And I don't know, for people that have never hunted with llamas or gone that route at all, is that something you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, I think so. It definitely adds like another level to the adventure, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's they're super convenient. But I will say this though, they're just weird. Like, they're just weird critters. They're weird animals. But they sure come in handy when you're packing stuff. So yeah, they allowed us to take quite a bit of stuff into the backcountry as far as camp goes. Set up a really comfortable camp back there, and then obviously when you shoot an elk or something, it's really easy to get it out with the llamas. So yeah, we had 3 of them for the trip. To camp in with the 3 llamas, and then I shot my bull the first day. Then I packed that bull out the second day. Meanwhile, Caleb kept hunting, and then he got his bull. I brought the llamas back in, and we packed that bull out with the rest of camp. So yeah, it's super convenient. We definitely couldn't have been hunting where we were if we did not have llamas or some other livestock.
Yeah, because you're going in like, gosh, like sometimes on like if you want to go in deep, like on a backcountry hunt, and you're going for multiple days, like that pack in can like kick your butt a little bit.
Right.
And then, but with like llamas, like you're going in fresh. And like, man, if you have 2 guys and you're limited a little bit on time like that, like you only got like 5 hunting days, you got to. Because like, think about, that scenario. If you didn't have the llamas, you're going in maybe a little bit smoked already. So you do get there. And then you guys are both packing out a bull. Then you're really whooped. And like you said, your buddy was able to still hunt. And then that just opens up so many more doors, I feel like. And that's awesome. I didn't know too. It was day 1 and 2.
Actually, yeah. So I guess it was day 1 and 3. I guess. So
3. Okay.
yeah, I guess the way it worked was I shot my bull the evening of opening day. Got him quartered up. Left most of the meat up on the hill because it was plenty cold. And then the second day, I spent getting my meat back to camp. And then the third day, I took it from camp back to the truck with the llamas. And then Caleb kept hunting, and he shot his bull on day 3. And then I brought the llamas back in, and then we packed his bull out with the rest of camp.
Okay. And dude, you killed a great bull. Not taken away from it at all, but that picture of Caleb's bull is a stud.
Caleb's bull was a toad for sure. And actually, we glassed up that bull 3 or 4 days before the season. So I knew that bull was up there. And actually the crazy part is me and him shot our elk on the exact same mountain from the exact same rock. So those two carcasses are about 200 yards apart.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was lots of elk in there. So it doesn't surprise me, I guess, but it was just kind of cool that, we ended up shooting those two elk from the same exact spot 2 days apart. Yeah, you're totally right though about like using the llamas to get in and then staying fresh. Like that was something on my mind too, because where we shot those elk, from where camp was, which was already 4 miles in, we had to go 2 miles further up the trail and then a mile up the hill. And it was probably from camp, it was 2,500 vertical feet. So, yeah. I mean, when you're hiking in, if you're packing all your stuff in, like you're going to be smoked before you even start that climb. So staying fresh was huge, right?
Yeah, and you can just like it's hard to explain, but like when you're out there and like you can have like that, like you can almost play like a whole different game versus guys that are backpacking in or guys that are doing like a big old hike all day to get like near you. Like you're getting to that next level of country, and that can be so huge, obviously. Want to talk a little bit about what did it look like elk were doing at that time? Because I think it was still, would you say it was still relatively warm around mid-October? So I'm curious about what the elk were doing, herded up, how they were acting, and things like that when you were glassing them up.
Yeah. I would say the highs were probably in like the mid 50s. In the valleys, like where we were camped at the bottom in that drainage there, like it would get pretty cold at night down into like the low 30s. But for the most part, is pretty mild. Dude, they were still bugling. I think we heard bulls bugling every day. They probably weren't cranking like they were in September, right? But we were glassing up herds of 10 to 20 head, with a pretty decent bull and most of them pushing cows around still and bugling. So, the bull I shot, he was bugling that night. He had a group of cows with him. Caleb's bull actually was by himself, or at least that's the only elk that he had seen. I kind of suspect he probably had a herd that was down below the ridge. His bull came up a little spine ridge and he shot him there, but I kind of suspect there was a herd of elk down below the ridge that Caleb couldn't quite see. But yeah, dude, they were still going. And even in like second rifle a couple of years ago, we still had some bulls that were bugling and stuff. So, it's interesting because like up here where I live in North Idaho, like I've never really heard elk bugling that late. But yeah, whenever we go to Colorado, it seems like in October, we're still hearing them bugle and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know a guy that was hunting first season, maybe a few hours east-ish of you, and said the same thing. Bulls were bugling, bulls bumping cows around, and I don't know. I feel like if that is, I don't know if that's a consistent thing or if things might have been a little later than normal, and I don't know. Just curious about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, man. Yeah, not sure.
Yeah, but that sounded like an epic trip, though. So.
Oh, dude, yeah, it was phenomenal. Both of those bulls, they were both 6x7s, which is pretty cool. Like you said, mine's pretty decent bull, but Caleb's was a real nice bull. So I was super happy for him. It had been a couple of years since he had tagged one, so he was due, and it was a great one for him to take. So I was super stoked for him.
Oh yeah, I forgot yours was a 6x7 too.
And yeah, just
that's just crazy. Like in that unit, like that's not like lifetime, crazy unit. Like there's opportunity there, and like for you guys to get a couple 6 points, man, that's just good work, dude. Like I don't even know what else to say.
Yeah, it was super fun. Yeah, we're definitely going to be going back to that unit at some point, I think.
Yeah. Did you run that teepee tent you guys had?
Yeah, we did. We ran a hot tent. We didn't take a stove though. We actually packed in a buddy heater because we had the llamas. So we just packed in a buddy heater with some cylinders of propane. Yeah, a little bit quicker to light and whatnot. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dude, you can't beat that because that's all you need. Maybe just to like warm up a little bit, fall asleep, right?
Yep. Turn it on in the evening and turn it on in the morning when you're getting dressed, that sort of thing.
Dude, epic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, man, that sounds like a heck of a year. That's why I wanted to get you on. Just all across the board, great work. So awesome to see you just get out there and get it done. As a, regular guy, regular job, still finding the time to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And up and down from the spring through the fall. Great animals too. It's just it's just fun to watch and fun to keep in touch with you, man.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, I mean, you had a great season too, so it's always good catching up with you and seeing how things are going for you. Especially, you're in your new state now and you're fitting right in. So yeah, it's been super fun to follow along for sure.
Yeah, I can't I was telling my buddy the other day, now that I'm out here, I cannot wait to I'm gonna hunt bears a ton in the spring, but just scout and just live in these mountains
Mm-hmm.
every weekend through the summer. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you know how it is. You'll say it too. It's all about just getting that time in the field, and I'm just so stoked. So
Yep.
I don't know, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's it, dude. Just as much time as you can spend out there, you do it. Like you learn something new every time you go out there. So the more times you go out there, you just start stacking odds, right?
Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
it. I feel like even if you're even past couple weekends, I've been out on the winter range. That's where all this tag is only good for. Looking for just a cow elk, but there's
Mm-hmm.
none moving down in there. But I'm still just okay, well, I'm out here. I got my spotter. I'm still, glassing. I'm glassing up all these deer. I'm watching rutting deer, just
Mm-hmm.
learning about that. I'm running all my gear, getting reps with that. And I don't know. I just feel like it all counts, and
Mm-hmm.
just loving it.
Yep. You're
Yeah.
doing it right, man. You're doing it right.
Thanks. All right, dude. Before I let you go, where if people want to connect with you, follow you on Instagram, maybe shoot you a message or something, where can people find you?
Yeah. Yeah, I have an Instagram. The handle is just at Logan Wimme. That's really the only place though. I don't really use Facebook much or anything else like that. So yeah, folks can follow along there if they want to.
Awesome. And I don't know, I don't even know if we talked about this yet, but anything on the horizon for next year as far as drawing a good tag or some sweet hunt? Oh, you're shaking your head. Okay.
Dude, I was hoping you were going to talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Let's hear
don't
it.
know if a lot of other guys are like this, but when I was coming home from Colorado, fresh off of this hunt, right? My brain was already just going about next year. I'm always thinking about what's coming next. I don't have any super good tags that I think I'm due for. I have a couple tags that I could draw that I think are going to be pretty good. Might be looking at some deer hunts in Wyoming. I'm also really excited to just get back to my Idaho OTC mule deer hunt because I didn't get to do that this year. I was in Colorado. So super stoked, excited to get back into the hills this summer, looking for some bucks that I can chase over the counter in October. But yeah, we'll see. I might look at, like I said, some Wyoming deer hunts. I might also switch it up and do some more open country archery elk. I don't know. The stuff up here is pretty thick, and I've had a really good time chasing bulls up here in the logging country and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like I'm being drawn to some more of that open country stuff where I can let the glass do the walking and not so much my bugle tube.
That's what was going through my mind where I was. I know you know where I was, and I
Mm-hmm.
was having a lot of this similar hurdles, trying to get away from people. And then you can only do so much stalking in that kind of country that's so thick. So then you run the calls, but so is every Tom, Dick, and Harry. And I don't know. That's kind of where my mind was. I was like, man, I just feel like if I have some sort of edge,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I have a big one in any realm, but yeah, getting out, getting away, open country, and
Mm-hmm.
doing going on a big stalk. I was like, that sounds pretty fun right now.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, and I was thinking too, I could kind of double up or kill two birds with one stone. And you're chasing elk early September in the high country, and you could be scouting for muleys at the same time, right? Like,
right.
Kind of double up there, I think. So yeah, I might try some of that stuff next year, change it up a little bit from what I typically do.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it, man. People want to follow you. Go check Logan out. And yeah, I think that's it, man. We'll wrap up. Another great year, dude. Just great work. Just love seeing the regular guy with the regular job just consistently get it done. So another awesome year. And yeah, great stuff, dude.
Cool, man. Yeah, thanks again for having me, dude. Super happy to be here. Keep doing what you're doing too with this platform. Like, it's getting some traction. So run with it, man.
Thanks. Yeah. Gonna keep on going, I guess. All right, dude. Everybody, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right. See ya. Hey, if you liked that episode, please share it with a friend, share it on your story, and give the podcast a rating and a review on wherever you listen. For more of this type of content, you can head over to the YouTube channel and follow along on all the social platforms. Really appreciate it. See you on the mountain.